Chosen ones understand this. Not every mystery was meant to be solved in its own time. Some were meant to wait for you. Long before the pyramids cast their shadows over shifting sands, long before ink stained scrolls with the weight of forgotten empires, there existed a code, a living message not written for kings, not whispered to priests, but encoded in eternity for one soul across time, you. The emerald tablets were never truly lost. They were merely hidden in plain sight, veiled not by dust but by divinely orchestrated delay. Their words are not just ink and glyph. They are vibrational blueprints designed to respond to specific frequencies, the frequency of a soul forged by fire, refined by silence, awakened by destiny. Yours. Many have sought these tablets. Scholars studied them. The occult chased shadows of their meaning. Secret societies built temples upon their presumed power, but none could unlock the living language woven within them, because that language wasn't waiting for intellect. It was waiting for recognition, a resonance, a soul echoing a forgotten rhythm. Now that you have arrived, the words pulse. Symbols once dormant shimmer with unseen light. Concepts long dismissed as allegory crack open like seeds, revealing not just knowledge, but assignment, mission, identity. This is not just about ancient wisdom. This is about why now. Why the global unrest, the veils thinning, the digital illusions cracking, why the same dream keeps revisiting your sleep, why you've always felt that the world was watching you with a hidden smile. Because it was. The emerald tablets are not reacting to you. They were always waiting for you. And now that you've found them, the story begins, not in Egypt, but in the mirror. Not in myths, but in memory. Not in scrolls, but in soul. This journey isn't about uncovering history. It's about recovering your identity. The ink has dried, the stones have settled, but the message is breathing again. And as you open the first line, don't ask why the world kept this hidden for so long. There are stones that speak without sound, messages etched not in language but in vibration. The emerald tablets were never loud. They didn't scream through history like great wars or towering empires. They whispered, through myth, through fragments, through dreams, and only those who carried a certain weight in their spirit could hear them. That weight wasn't sorrow or knowledge, it was memory. Not of this life, but something deeper, something older. You've felt it before, haven't you? That strange familiarity with stories no one taught you. A magnetic pull to names and symbols the world calls fiction. Atlantis, Thoth, the halls of Amenti. You didn't learn these words. You remembered them. That's what the whispers were preparing you for. Recognition. Because when the chosen finally arrive, the past does not need to be taught. It reveals itself. The tablets knew this. That's why they were sealed beyond comprehension, encoded in layers of metaphor, light, and geometry. They weren't hidden to be safe. They were hidden to be preserved until you were ready to remember. The first time the symbols shimmered, it didn't happen in a temple. It happened inside. It was subtle, like a flash behind the eyes, a pressure between thoughts, a knowing. You didn't need translation. You needed alignment. The tablets are alive in that way. They react to consciousness like stone tuned to echo only a certain voice. Not just any seeker, but the one marked by origin, scattered across timelines, led by synchronicity to rediscover the self beneath the mask of the modern world. And the whisper? It's growing louder. The words are not just meant to be read, they're meant to awaken. Because knowledge without remembrance is just data. But remembrance? That's where the power begins. The emerald tablets never lost their voice. They were simply waiting for yours to harmonize with them. That harmony is what activates the ancient current, the one that flows not through circuits but through bloodlines, through soul contracts, through the lineage of light bearers who chose to come back. You are not here by accident. The world's chaos is not random. The timing of your awakening was not delayed. It was precise. The distractions, the programming, the disconnection, it was all part of keeping the tablets unreadable. Because once they're read, once they're felt, everything begins to shift. The illusions tremble. The false kings panic. The grids of control begin to erode. and the voice of the past finally finds its echo in the present. The world has always been built on layers, some seen, most hidden. And while kings and empires played their roles on the stage of history, there were others behind the curtain, crafting the script. The emerald tablets, with all their divine fire and forbidden knowledge, were never meant to fall into the wrong hands. But more importantly, they were never meant to be seen by unreadied hands. So the architects of secrecy began their silent work. They were not villains in the classic sense. They were curators, watchers, some benevolent, others obsessed with control. Their identities blurred with time. Priests, scribes, mystics, bloodlines that moved through generations like shadows cast by flickering flame. They didn't just hide the tablets physically, they buried them behind rituals, behind fabricated legends, behind fractured languages. One version would say the tablets were lost, another would claim they never existed. Still another would reduce them to metaphor. And in each case the trail grew colder, but not for everyone. A few fragments remained. Not pages but signs, geometry and architecture, patterns in starlight, numbers that kept repeating, visions that slipped into the dreams of those who weren't supposed to be dreaming. These weren't accidents. They were remnants of an old agreement, whispers left behind by the architects not to deceive, but to delay. Because for all their efforts to shield the tablets from abuse, they also knew one day someone would come who could read without being corrupted. That's the secret within the secrecy. Not all of the architects were aligned. Some wanted the truth suppressed forever, buried under concrete and distraction. Others protected it in silence, guarding it not with weapons, but with time. And time, unlike locks and vaults, cannot be forced open. It opens when the frequency is right. Yeshua once spoke of this when he said, "Do not cast pearls before swine." He wasn't speaking of judgment. He was speaking of timing, of discernment, of knowing that sacred knowledge must be received with sacred hearts. The emerald tablets are such pearls, and their reappearance now isn't just coincidence. It's prophecy moving in alignment. And now, the architects, those who buried the knowledge and those who preserved it, have all felt the shift. They know someone has touched the current. The energetic blueprint has responded. The locks are no longer just unlocking, they're disintegrating. What was meant to be concealed is now beginning to reveal not by force but by divine synchronization. But there's still more beneath the surface, a deeper level of secrecy, one even the architects feared to speak aloud, a chamber not of stone, but of thought, a place not written into the tablets but encoded in the memory of the one who was always meant to find them. There's a reason you never resonated with plain answers. Because truth for you was never meant to be handed down like a textbook, it was meant to be discovered through resonance. The emerald tablets were encoded not in a way that could be unraveled by cleverness alone, but in light. Pure, divine light, beyond visible spectrum, beyond language. And that light was never meant to shine unless it recognized itself in someone. You weren't meant to read the tablets with your eyes. You were meant to remember them with your soul. It begins subtly. Not in temples or archives, but in stillness, a flicker behind the eyes when a forgotten symbol reappears, a sudden warmth in the spine when reading a phrase that's supposed to be metaphor but feels like a memory. The tablets don't teach in the traditional sense, they reflect. Each verse is a mirror that bends its meaning to match the depth of the one who reads it. And when you read, the light within you stirs. The code embedded in the tablet glows not with heat, but recognition. You were designed to interact with this light. Your DNA, your frequency, your dreams, they've all been shifting you into alignment. That's why certain numbers follow you, why specific words hit you like echoes, why the old world feels like a cage even when it looks like freedom. The light in the tablets doesn't just illuminate knowledge, it activates inheritance. Because you are not separate from the message, you are the continuation of it. That's the secret those who fear you never understood. They thought the tablets were tools, weapons even, something to be controlled, analyzed, reversed, but your presence rewrites the entire paradigm. You don't need to decode the tablets, you need only stand in their light. And when you do, the message bends to meet you, the way a flame bends toward oxygen. Yeshua once said, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." That same light pulses through the tablets, waiting for those who carry the flame rather than fear it. And you, unknowingly, have carried that flame through lifetimes, through betrayals, through silence. But now that flame is no longer content to flicker, it wants to rise, it wants to speak. The light does not just reveal truth, it reveals you. The more you interact with the tablets, the more they unveil not just knowledge, but memory, not just prophecy, but instruction. You begin to see how events in your life weren't random. They were coded. Why certain people left, why certain pains lasted. It was all preparing your vessel to carry the next layer of light, the one hidden not in text, but in being. Not all protectors wear crowns. Some stand in silence behind veils no eye can pierce, holding ancient truths like a flame sheltered from the wind. The emerald tablets were never unguarded. They were sealed not just by time or illusion, but by presence. Watchers, hidden ones, guardians of the gate. You felt them before, maybe in the tension that fills the air before a breakthrough. In the dreams where voices speak without mouths, only eyes watching. Or in moments when you stood before a choice and felt like something unseen was weighing your heart, not to stop you, but to test you. These guardians are not bound to one form. Sometimes they appear in your life as a person with perfect timing, a stranger who says one thing that unlocks a forgotten part of you. Other times they are beings you can't quite describe, wings and light and voices like thunder veiled in wind. And sometimes they are simply presence itself, a stillness so full it feels like the air is listening. They've waited, not to reveal themselves, but to see if you'd remember. Because no one can pass the gate with intellect alone. The gate only opens for those who carry memory within spirit. That's the unspoken test, not knowledge but purity of intent. Not the hunger for power, but the return to purpose. You didn't stumble upon this path. You crossed invisible thresholds marked by choices, signs, sacrifices. Every step was recorded, not by man, but by frequency. And the guardians kept watch, not with judgment, but with prophecy. They were told someone would come bearing the echo of the original voice, the resonance of the one the tablets were encoded for. Not a scholar, not a sorcerer, but a soul, scarred yet shining, broken yet burning. The emerald tablets are the key, yes, but they are also the gate itself. To read them is to approach the threshold of something ancient and alive. But you were never meant to stop at reading. The tablets only respond fully when the bearer is ready not just to unlock the message, but to become part of it. That's what the guardians are waiting to see, not if you are strong, but if you are willing. Yeshua said, "Enter through the narrow gate." That gate is not just moral, it is mystical. It is the alignment of soul and assignment. It is the choice to leave behind illusion even when illusion is comfortable. The guardians protect this gate because what lies beyond is not just knowledge, it is transformation. And transformation demands sacrifice. Time is not linear in the realm of the tablets. What seems like past to the world is present within their design. Their messages are not stories of what was, but echoes of what is, waiting to resonate in the one whose arrival was encoded before birth. You are not reading history. You are interacting with memory folded across dimensions, placed like seeds inside sacred text, waiting for the right soul to crack them open. The moment you aligned with their vibration, the tablets began to move, not physically but energetically. Their language adjusted, their meaning shifted. What once read like riddles now reads like recognition. It is not the words that changed, it is you. The ancients knew this would happen. They knew that one day, far beyond the fall of their temples and the silence of their chants, someone would awaken with the exact harmonic code required to activate the living message buried beneath symbols. So they folded time itself into the tablets, layered meanings that could only be decoded by resonance, not research. The more you awaken, the more layers unravel, like spirals unfolding inwards toward the original flame. The phrase, "as above, so below," wasn't just philosophy, it was instruction. It meant that the divine blueprint above mirrors the human potential below. The emerald tablets weren't just about cosmic laws, they were about aligning you with them. But only when your awareness reached a frequency high enough to read between the folds of time would the real message reveal itself. And that time is now. When the tablets began to stir for you, they weren't responding to your eyes, they were responding to your soul's vibration. Your timeline, your wounds, your patterns, even the strange way time bends around your presence. It's all part of the same mechanism. You are the key that makes time react, not just to show you the past, but to bring future revelations into the now. Because this journey is not about what you find, it's about what finds you when you finally remember who you've always been. Yeshua moved outside of time as well. He spoke of the end being the beginning, of truth being hidden from the wise and revealed to children, those who see with purity, not pride. The emerald tablets carry that same mystery. They were never meant to be deciphered with intellect alone. Only through innocence reclaimed, through surrender to divine timing, can their hidden flame be ignited. You weren't meant to race to the end of this message. You were meant to become the message, slowly, layer by layer, light by light. There is something ancient within you that no scan, no chart, no lineage test can identify. It is a signature, a spiritual imprint, etched beyond biology, encoded into the very field of your being. The emerald tablets don't simply read like scripture. They scan for this signature. They wait for it, because only the one who carries it can awaken the dormant layer of the message hidden beneath metaphor and myth. And when that signature is detected, the tablets do not inform, they activate. You've likely felt it in ways you couldn't explain. That pulse behind your sternum when you came across sacred geometry, that surge of clarity when symbols from unknown languages stirred something in your bones. Those weren't coincidences, they were responses. The tablets are like mirrors, but only for the soul that carries the resonance of the original design. And in you, they see a match, not in form, but in frequency. The ancients didn't just inscribe words, they encoded energy. Every glyph, every line carries vibration. Not for the mind, but for the memory buried within spirit. The moment you came into contact with these energies, something clicked. It wasn't logic, it was alignment, and alignment cannot be faked. That's why no one else could unlock what you are unlocking. Many have studied, theorized, translated, and debated. But the message was never meant to be understood the way we understand facts. It was meant to be remembered by the one who bears the original light. You don't need to claim this with your voice. The tablets already know. They are responding because you are radiating the same frequency from which they were first written. That's the real inheritance. Not gold, not rank, not bloodlines or relics, but memory that survived the fire, the flood, and the forgetting. Yeshua spoke of this when he said, "My sheep hear my voice and I know them, and they follow me." He was referring not to recognition by face, but by essence, by the imprint carried from realm to realm, lifetime to lifetime, beyond names and forms. The tablets carry a similar recognition. They do not open because you wish them to. They open because they recognize what you carry. And as they open, something deeper emerges. Not just understanding, but identity. You begin to remember why you've always felt different, why you couldn't fit into systems made to suppress light, why you've always been searching for something you couldn't name. It wasn't a search, it was a return. And now, the tablets are confirming what your spirit already knew but your mind dared not believe. Words were never the true language of the divine. The voice of creation speaks in vibration, in frequency, in resonance that bypasses the intellect and goes straight to the soul. The emerald tablets are not just documents, they are instruments of that language. Every curve of their symbols, every rhythm of their phrases is tuned to a celestial harmony. And when you encounter them in alignment, the meaning you receive is not something you read, it's something you feel. Something that rearranges you from within, as if every cell in your body suddenly remembers its original assignment. There are times when you've encountered this language without even realizing it, in music that moves you to tears without a single lyric, in numbers that follow you like whispers, in dreams that communicate truths in symbols, not sentences. These are all fragments of the divine tongue, a language not spoken aloud, but activated through awareness. and the emerald tablets were encoded with this same celestial grammar, waiting for someone not just fluent in its patterns, but born from its source. When you read the tablets and feel the sudden swell of understanding in your chest, that is not comprehension, it is communion. You are syncing with something higher, something older than any civilization that ever claimed knowledge. It is the language spoken in the silence before the first sunrise, the language that called light into being. And you, chosen one, have always carried a piece of it in your essence. The tablets recognize that piece and respond accordingly. Yeshua operated within this same frequency. His parables were not just stories, they were encoded blueprints filled with layers of meaning designed to activate at different levels of awareness. He said, "He who has ears, let him hear," because he knew not all ears could receive divine sound. The emerald tablets, like his words, do not simply transmit, they test, they measure readiness, they reveal only what the reader is ready to become. This is why many who came before you were turned away, not by rejection, but by resonance. They did not carry the frequency to unlock the fuller message, but you do. And the more you engage, the more this ancient language reveals itself to you, not just in the tablets, but in everything. Prophecies are not bound to parchment. They live and breathe, waiting for a moment in time when they can wear skin and walk the earth. You are not reading a prophecy. You are fulfilling one. The emerald tablets were never meant to remain ancient relics gathering dust in the hands of historians. They were alive, encoded with future memory, designed to awaken not in scholars, but in the soul destined to become the embodiment of their truth. And now, that soul is you. For generations, the tablets whispered to the ethers. They waited in silence, in shadows, in sanctuaries built beneath cities and beyond sight. But they always knew the day would come when prophecy would stop being theory and become flesh. When the scrolls would no longer need to be read because the reader would be the next chapter. That moment is now, and you are the ink. You have felt it rising, haven't you? The pressure building in your spirit. The sense that you are on the edge of something enormous yet undefined. That is the tension of prophecy being activated. Your very presence triggers alignments that ripple through timelines. You were born marked, not by blood, but by blueprint. Every loss, every detour, every delay was not random. It was divine preparation. They weren't setbacks, they were setups. Even now, the world around you shifts in response. People sense it, though they can't explain it. You don't just walk into rooms, you shift the frequency. Not because you try, but because prophecy cannot hide in the presence of its fulfillment. It speaks in silence. It echoes in actions, and when flesh meets the fire of destiny, there is no turning back. Yeshua was the clearest mirror of this truth. He was not simply fulfilling prophecy, he was prophecy in form. He said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life," not as metaphor, but as manifestation. He carried the frequency of what was written long before he was born, and when he stepped into alignment with that truth, reality itself had to respond. The same principle now awakens in you. You are not outside the prophecy, you are inside it. The emerald tablets contain many layers still hidden, but one line above all others was never meant to be spoken aloud. It was meant to be lived. It is a prophecy not of events, but of emergence. The emergence of one who would not just decipher the sacred, but embody it. Not just remember the way, but become it. And now, with every breath you take, the line is being written. You are no longer standing before the tablets. You are walking within their echo. There is a moment when the unseen makes itself known, not through spectacle, but through stillness that wraps around you like breath before thunder. The emerald tablets do not declare this moment. They recognize it. The ritual of recognition is not written in text, it's etched into energy, triggered only when the right frequency steps into alignment with the ancient pattern. That frequency is you, and the ritual has already begun. It doesn't begin with words, it begins with awareness. You've felt it building, subtle shifts in perception, a change in how time flows around you, the sudden sense that reality is watching. These are not side effects, they are signals. The ritual is not conducted in temples or halls of marble, but in you. Your body is the chamber, your spirit is the flame. The emerald tablets respond not to incantation, but to remembrance. As you read, feel, and align, something awakens within the architecture of your being. The tablets recognize this shift and mirror it back with escalating clarity. Symbols once inert begin to shimmer. Phrases begin to speak as if read aloud by something not of this world. And deep within you, there is a knowing, not logical but eternal, that you are being seen by something far greater than the human eye could comprehend. You are being remembered by the very force that crafted the prophecy you now live. This is the ritual, silent, sacred, encoded in layers that bypass all resistance. No smoke, no candles, just you, standing in full awareness of what you are, not what you were told to be, not what others tried to mold, but the you that existed before language, before time. And in that moment of recognition, the tablets unlock a layer no one else could reach. A layer that only reveals itself when the tablet stops being an artifact and becomes a mirror. Yeshua spoke of such moments when he said, "The kingdom of God is within you." It was not poetic, it was instructional. The ritual doesn't happen outside, it unfolds within. And when it does, the tablets cease to be relics of the past. They become blueprints of the now, flowing through your veins like encoded light, redesigning the very way you perceive your path. You become the living text, the message in motion. The ritual of recognition does not end, it evolves. With every choice you make in alignment with the truth awakening inside you, the tablets reveal more, not in words, but in unfolding. New layers of reality start presenting themselves. Encounters feel orchestrated, visions intensify, and the veil between what is and what always has been grows thinner. You are not alone in this. There are others watching, not the architects, not the ones who feared your rise, but those who have been waiting. Their silence wasn't absence, it was reverence. They have known that once the ritual began, nothing could stop the return of the one it was written for. Some texts burn without flame. They are written not in ink but in essence, inscribed across dimensions, waiting for the one who can awaken their fire. The emerald tablets were never meant to end with words. Their final layer is not read, it is ignited. The fire script is not a page or a scroll. It is a transmission from the divine source itself, only activated when prophecy, presence, and power converge within a single being. That convergence is happening now, and the fire is returning through you. The moment the tablets recognized your soul's frequency, they began transmitting more than memory. They began releasing fire, cosmic, spiritual, ancient. This fire doesn't burn skin, it burns illusion. It consumes what is false, what is programmed, what was never yours to carry. And in its heat, something emerges, not just knowledge, but transformation. The tablets were always preparing for this moment. All the symbols, all the layers, all the whispers were just scaffolding around a truth too bright to be revealed until now. You were never meant to simply understand the tablets. You were meant to complete them. You are the final line, the living continuation of a script written across stars. As you step into this truth, the fire script begins to flow, not on stone, but in spirit. It moves through your actions, your words, your choices, and as it flows, others feel it. Not because you explain it, but because fire doesn't need to be explained. It reveals, it transforms everything it touches. This is why the world has shifted around you, why systems have started to falter, why old connections have dissolved. It is not chaos, it is alignment. The fire script is rewriting your field, stripping away the false frequencies, revealing the design that was always hidden beneath survival and silence. And it's not just rewriting you, it's reaching through you. The tablets are no longer dormant, they are alive, and their message is moving. Yeshua once said, "I have come to cast fire on the earth, and how I wish it were already kindled." That fire wasn't destruction, it was purification, awakening, revelation. The same flame now burns in you, not as judgment, but as clarity. You are not here to escape the world. You are here to set it alight with divine truth, to burn through the veils, to call forth the forgotten frequencies of heaven embedded within human form. But the fire script is not a reward. It is a responsibility. It will challenge you. It will strip away the masks. It will confront the parts of you still clinging to comfort, because you cannot carry this flame and remain hidden. And yet, you were never made to hide. You were made to rise, to reveal, to become. The tablets have spoken. The fire has returned, and now with the final line still unwritten, it moves toward you with one question burning brighter than all the rest. If you have come this far, it is crucial that you watch this next video here. But be warned, it is not for the faint of heart, for only the true chosen ones can handle this video. If you would like to also donate to help keep the channel going, our Buy Me a Coffee link will be in the description.